Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I have what is probably one of the most pristine ThinkPads I've had on the channel that is old inventory. So this is actually the ThinkPad T500. So this is the big brother of the T400, and the hinge is exceptionally stiff. Like, I have no idea how much this got used, but my guess is not very much. So the T500 was the first 15-inch of the new kind of streamlined product line. The T60, of course, had several variants that were 15-inch and several variants that were 14-inch, and it's a little confusing. So it's a nice change to see that they're like, if it's a 500 series, it's going to be a 15-inch laptop. Easy to remember. So these were made from August of 2008 to September of 2010. And they're obviously a 15.4-inch display, and they came in a variety of resolutions, and some of those resolutions actually had LED backlights as opposed to TFT. So you had a 1280 by 800 LED or TFT, you had a 16 by 80 by 1050 TFT, and according to my sources, you could actually put the 1920 by 1200 TFT from a W500 into one of these as well. And the maintenance manual is the same for the T500 and the W500. In terms of CPU configurations, it is a massive, massive list, so I'm just going to put some of them on the screen here. I'm not going to read them all, but it's everything from Celeron to Celeron Duo to Core 2 Duo CPUs. Your GPUs were an Intel GMA 4500 MHD or an ATI Mobility Radeon 3650, which was a 256 megabyte card. Now, this is from the generation where the ATI cards sometimes would be faulty, and if you do run into that, don't worry, the ThinkPad is not dead. You can still configure in the BIOS for it to use the integrated chip exclusively. RAM was 8 gigabytes of DDR3 maximum, and we're talking about 1066 megahertz, PC3 8500, and it has to be 2 RX8. You can't put one stick of 8 gigabytes of RAM on this machine and have it boot. It just simply will not do it. A few other things to note are actually a series of optional features, many of which this model in front of us has. So the web camera was optional, which this does not have. It only has the ThinkLight at the top. If we open this all the way out, we can see the ThinkLight is perfectly centered, but no web camera is installed. It does have the fingerprint reader, which again was an option. Bluetooth was also an option on these devices, so if that indicator light illuminates, we know that that is present. There was also optional FireWire, which this machine does sport. So this is a pretty well-equipped unit, with the only thing missing being that web camera. Now, the Ultra Bay on this, to skip ahead to some of the ports, and I'm not exaggerating, it's that hard to close. So we do have a dual card slot. We do have card bus as well as express card over here. We've got a whopping 3 USB 2.0 ports, a 56K modem of all things, DisplayPort, VGA, and an exhaust port. Along the back, a Kensington lock slot and power plug. And then over here we have our Ethernet port and our Ultra Bay Slim. Now the Ultra Bay works just like every other Ultra Bay that we would expect. This is the DVD multi-burner, which is the top class. It also came with a CD-RW DVD-ROM. And if we look inside, we can see over here that it will run the Ultra Bay battery. Speaking of batteries, this is actually kind of a neat little leftover. It came with 2 variants of battery. So this one right here is your standard 6-cell, which is a 57 watt-hour variety. However, on top of the 9-cell 85 watt-hour battery that goes in here, batteries from the T60, Z60, and R500 will actually all fit. So since we have this thing upside down and the battery removed, we may as well do a little bit of disassembly. So we'll put this battery off to the side, grab our trusty screwdriver, and begin to remove some of the key components. As you saw earlier, removing the optical bay is quite trivial. So we'll put that off to the side. The next piece up will be our hard disk drive enclosure by spinning out this screw here, which is nice and long. Removing this plastic door, flipping out the cable, and removing the drive. And the drive looks to be the original hard disk drive built by Hitachi, and it's got a Lenovo part number. To get to the rest of the components, we are going to have to remove the palm rest and the keyboard. There are no doors on the back here. So thankfully we have pictograms that tell us exactly what screws have to be removed to perform these feats. And we're going to go ahead and just tip the laptop over, give it a good shake, and push all those screws off to the side. And just do a final check to make sure that all the screws with pictograms have fallen out of place, and it appears that they have. Let's go ahead and just crack this open. And while we're doing that, I have forgotten to mention the ports and switches along the front. So we obviously do have that FireWire, a hardware Wi-Fi kill switch, a headphone and microphone jack, an SD card reader front and center. Now, the palm rest is pretty much just ready to come up and off, like so. We reach in behind, pull the cable, and all is well. And here we can see our 2 RAM slots. And these appear to be 1 GB modules only. So this thing is running a pretty measly amount of RAM. 2 sticks of 1 GB each out of a maximum possible of 8. And then our keyboard wiggles out of place. And this is a move to the left. And we're just going to reach gently underneath that ribbon cable and gently pry up. And we have all sorts of other goodies awaiting for us. First off is an amazing roll cage. Like, this is just so cool to see how very little that moves. Same thing with this. Like, that is just so well built. It's just fun to hit because you know you're not going to break it. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. We have a CMOS battery, of course. We do have the CPU cooler and heatsink assembly over here. We can see an offshoot, which is probably heading to the GPU. And then this metal cage, which is protecting our Wi-Fi card. So this is also kind of redundantly reinforced, which is encouraging to see. To disassemble this further, there are 2 screws here to remove this trim piece, which would give you access to a few more things, but these are the fundamental components that you would be servicing on a machine like this. So once you remove these 2 panels, which is actually a pretty trivial and easy to do affair, you have access to pretty much everything. And again, I just cannot stress how stiff the hinge is on this T500. I don't know if they're all like that, but this one is hard to open. So I don't know if it got a whole lot of love or somebody over-tightened the hinges at some point in its history. Let's go ahead and reassemble this thing and turn it on and see what we can expect. Back together, let's go ahead and power this thing on. Bit of a faded display there. The tubes are literally warming up. All right, the battery life only has about 10 minutes or so. So let's plug that in. And that helps with the screen brightness, but again, like, it's still warming up, literally. Not the best screen in the whole wide world that I've ever seen. And it's actually kind of amazing that this thing is running Windows 10 as well as it is with 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah, so this is the Intel Core 2 Duo P8400, which is not a slouch in terms of the processors that were available, but that 2 gigs of RAM and the display warm-up definitely ages this machine more than anything else. And it would appear that Bluetooth is present, which is pretty cool to see, but this is kind of the cusp of, I would say, usability. Could you press this T500 into service by giving it some more RAM, maybe a new battery, a few things like that? Possible, possible. But the money that you would probably invest in those parts will ultimately give you an objectively more powerful machine in just about every measurable way. But that being said, it is really cool to see just how well built these machines were, because the T60 is a fan favorite, and if you're going to succeed the T60, there's not a whole lot of room for error, in my opinion. And the T500 was a start of that era, and I think they did okay with the technology that they had at the time. Now that this thing has had some time to warm up, that display is much, much nicer to look at. I would call this a good look at the past, but I don't necessarily know that I would want to try and run one of these in my daily applications. Your mileage might vary, of course, depending on what you need your computer to do. At any rate, I hope you've enjoyed looking at such a pristine example from this kind of turn of the era. And if you want to be notified the next time I release a video like this, then I would encourage you to do the big four. Please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, so the next time I get to look at an older ThinkPad like this one here, you'll be the first to know about it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.